He was a jazz phenomenon. With only the barest knowledge of harmony, he was able to fashion a monster career with his huge talent, his beautiful sound, excellent rhythm, and a sense of melodic rightness that was beyond comprehension. Who is Stan Getz? Here on Big on Bebop. He was born Stanley Gaetsky on February 2nd, 1927 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Getz's original family name was Gaetsky. The family changed to Getz upon arrival in America. He started on the bass, then the bassoon. Getz attended James Monroe High School and studied the saxophone with Bill Shiner. He was accepted into the All-City High School Orchestra of New York City, giving him the chance to receive private free tutoring from New York Philharmonic's Simon Kovar, a bassoon player. He also continued playing the saxophone at dances and bar mitzvahs. His first professional job was in 1942 with Dick Rogers. The next year, at the age of 16, he joined Jack Teagarden's band. Because of his age, he became Teagarden's ward. Getz also played with Nat King Cole and Lionel Hampton, was with Stan Kenton from 1944 to 45. Following a comment from Kenton that his main influence, Lester Young, was too simple, Getz quit. After playing with several other bands, he moved to California, performed with Jimmy Dorsey and Benny Goodman. In September of 1947, he joined Woody Herman's newly formed Second Herd. He first gained wide attention as one of the band's saxophonists who were known collectively as the Four Brothers, the others being Serge Charlock, Zoot Sims, and Herbie Stewart. With Herman, he had the hit Early Autumn in 1948. After Getz left the Second Herd, he was able to launch his solo career. Horace Silver's trio was heard by Getz when he was the guest soloist at the Club Sundown in Hartford, Connecticut in 1950. He hired them for touring gigs, gaining Silver his earliest national exposure. His profile was enhanced by his featured performance on Johnny Smith's version of the song Moonlight in Vermont, recorded in 1952, which became a hit single and stayed on the charts for months. By 1956, Getz recordings were also featured on national radio networks. A 1953 lineup with the Dizzy Gillespie Stan Getz Sextet featured Gillespie, Getz, Oscar Peterson, Herb Ellis, Ray Brown, and Max Roach. He made the Jazz at Philharmonic tours in 1957 and 1958. During the mid to late 1950s, Getz's career was disrupted by both his drug use and his inclination to work in Europe. He moved to Copenhagen, Denmark in 1958. When he returned to the U.S., he resumed playing nightclubs with a quartet. While he was in Europe, Getz's post-Bach cool era had taken a back seat to John Coltrane's aggressive sounds grabbing the jazz audiences. Getz's 1962 album, Focus, featured unusual arrangements by Eddie Saunter, got critical acclaim. But Getz's real career breakthrough came in the 1960s, as a result of his collaboration with guitarist Charlie Byrd on the album Jazz Samba, which featured the music of Antonio Carlos Jobim. Getz was recognized as the first U.S. artist to successfully integrate the sound and rhythm of bossa nova with the genre becoming a 60s craze. Getz's related albums, including Jazz Samba Encore and The Girl from Ipanema, sung by Astrid Gilberto, was voted Best Jazz Performance in 1964 and went on to become one of the biggest cross-selling albums ever. A live album, Getz's Gilberto Volume 2, followed, as did Getz's A Go-Go in 1964. While still working with the Gilbertos, he recorded the jazz album No One Else But Me, with a new quartet, including vibraphonist Gary Burton. But Verve Records, wishing to continue building the Getz brand with bossa nova, refused to release it. It came out 30 years later after Getz had died. In 1972, Getz recorded the jazz fusion album Captain Marvel with Chick Corea, Stanley Clarke, and Tony Williams. He had a cameo in the film The Exterminator in 1980. In the mid-1980s, Getz worked regularly in the San Francisco Bay Area and taught at Stanford University as an artist-in-residence at the Stanford Jazz Workshop until 1988. In 1986, he was inducted into the Downbeat Jazz Hall of Fame. During 1988, Getz worked with Huey Lewis and the News on their Small World album. He played the extended solo on part 2 of the title track, which became a minor hit single. Getz was diagnosed with liver cancer in 1987 and died in Malibu in June of 1991. Stan Getz, in the view of most critics and musicians, was one of the most melodically creative stylists in the history of the tenor saxophone. Stan Getz, a giant tenor saxophone player.